Hello, Jim here. Today I want to talk about two companies that I don't only trade on, but I also use their services and they save me lots and lots of time. I'm going to share with you why I like them so much and then how they're really good for running the wheel. So stay tuned. I think it's going to be well worth your while. Okay, now the first service I want to talk about is Instacart. It has the ticker symbol CART. I use this. I started using them several months back. Probably twice a week, I will have food delivered. The savings in time is unbelievable. The fact that I don't have to drive to the grocery store keeps it fairly simple. You can pick between different companies that you might want to use. So if I go into the main Instacart, you can see you can pick Publix, Costco, Kroger, Home Depot. You have lots and lots of choices. I typically use Publix or Kroger. Underneath it, it shows how much time before the shopper can be available. So, with Kroger for 30 minutes means I can get my food fairly quickly, usually within an hour or two. I have a yearly membership, so I don't get charged the delivery service each time. And if you use it as much as I do, then it pays for itself fairly quickly. But the time savings is unbelievable. It remembers what you've ordered before. So once you identify the store you want to use, you will get a list of stuff you've used previous times. Let's turn that off. So I can pick the same things again, or if I want to see everything I've purchased before in all my different orders, and I can click on this and I can find what I need fairly quickly. And um, it just is a real time saver. The fact of not having to drive all the way to the grocery store, spend an hour in the grocery store, and then drive all the way back. Plus, half the time I tend to forget things. It's just a service I can't, in a way, can't live without now. I've really enjoyed using it and will continue to use it quite a bit. Now, the other service I like is Fiverr, and this is another service that I actually trade the wheel on. Both Cart and Fiverr are good opportunities for running the wheel on both of these companies. They're around the same price. I believe they're both around $40. Instacart is Cart, Fiverr is FVRR. So if you've followed my channel before, I typically will wheel Fiverr on a month in, month out basis in my 10K wheel strategy. But I've used it for many years. I used to use Upwork. I just find it a little bit easier. I know how much I'm going to spend going in. If I need to have extra services done, you can usually communicate with the creator, meaning if you need something in more detail, then you can. They usually have tiers of service. So if you need, say, it's a web developer, you need 3 pages versus one, then they usually have a higher tier so you could get 3 pages instead of one, which I really like. And then it's fairly easy to work with. You can communicate back and forth. They'll send you the final product and you can approve it if you want more changes. A lot of times it comes with multiple changes. You could say, well, maybe make the logo a little bit bigger, maybe, change the voiceover, make these modifications or the music behind the voiceover. Um, but a lot of times I found most of the people I've worked with have gotten it right almost the first time. Maybe I have to go back and ask for a few changes here and there, but they do a really nice job. Now, if you're a creator and you want to offer your services like this, Fiverr is a great place to do it. A lot of people have moved from Upwork. They've set up a group of products that they release, and they actually find that they're more productive on Fiverr than they ever were on Upwork. I also like using this or Fiverr versus Upwork because if you go to Upwork, sometimes the way the billing is set up, it can get a little bit confusing. You might end up on an hourly basis with the freelancer you're dealing with, and before you know it, you could have spent quite a bit of money. With this, you know what you're getting, you know what you're spending, and there's some real professional people. I was going to show this one voiceover, and I mean, you can see this voiceover. got some commercials with, I believe this is Ford or Chevy, I'm not sure, but the quality is really nice. So you can see, and you can see all the different prices. You can also filter by what you're looking at. You can determine what your budget is and filter by it. Um, you can also look at seller details. Do they speak English, or are they in the US? Are they overseas? There's a lot of different things you can do. It keeps track of all your orders. So here I can see all my previous orders if I want to use the same graphics person again. It just makes it really simple. So just a really good service, and they keep adding more bells and whistles. There were things that I could not do with Fiverr, but now I can. I can even find high-level programmers if I need them. So just wanted to share these two services initially. Next, we'll jump into the fundamentals and the technicals and why I really like trading them. So stay tuned. Let's do that next. Okay, I brought up cart in Seeking Alpha, and you can see here the chart in some ways is fairly flat. It did hit a high not too long ago, back, I believe, in February in the mid 50s. It's currently 45.67. It did hit a low, what is this? Probably back in April, of course, in April when we had such a rough market. But it's recovered nicely since then. I believe they did have some fairly good earnings. Let's look at their earnings. They had earnings back on 5/1, so they slightly missed for um, what is it? Normalized actual and a little bit for gap. Only missed by 2 cents for gap. They did bring in an extra 118,000. Now their earnings estimates, I believe, are pretty good. So yeah, they're going from 174 to 209 to 231. These are pretty good increases, 19, almost 20%, almost 11%, then to 250. So, and then 282. So some steady growth and a big jump, it looks like, in 2030, which I don't know how anyone can forecast that far out, but it's still some pretty good earnings growth. Now, if we look at regular growth for them, a B, so not the best, but fairly good. Profitability, they're an A minus. The only area they're lacking is asset turnover and capex, but they have fairly good return on common equity. Not bad, 13.42 return on total capital, return on assets. I also like to see cash flow from operations looks good. Valuation, here it's showing it might be a little bit pricey. Um, PE ratios, again, another place to look at it. Capital structure, they don't have much debt, only 22 million in debt, and their market cap's 11 billion. So debt's not really a concern with them. They don't pay dividends. Next time they have earnings is until August 6th, so we got a little bit of time with that. I also like to see, are they buying back shares? I'd be surprised if they were, but let's look. Let's come down and look. Total shares, so 264 to 260, so they are buying back shares, 268. And then it looks like they must have had a pretty big issuance back in 2022 to 2023. But they are buying back. They've reduced from 266, I think that is, to 260. So small amount of buyback, but at least they're doing that. Um, and then summary. So they look pretty good. Let's look at them. This is that. So they must have gone public back in 23. So right now their Bollinger Band, it's pretty near the 20-day moving average. So they might be a little bit pricey. If we come down here, we can look at RSI. So again, might be a little bit pricey. They did come down a little bit, um, but not crazy. I'd like to see them a little bit cheaper, which will probably happen. They seem to go up and down quite a bit. If we look at, yeah, they tend to kind of go up and down. I wouldn't be surprised if they came down a little bit. Now, how do they look for options? Let's come down here and look at option prices. And right now, I'd go out to 718. Quite a bit of open interest and fair amount of volume. So we can see here the calls look fairly good. The puts could be a little bit more activity, but the open interest is still fairly good. A little bit of volume here around 48. Is that 48? Yeah, and we want to be on this side. So they got a little bit of volume and some open interest. Not bad. Now let's actually jump into Fiverr. So let's take a look at Fiverr. And now, if you've been a member with me for a while or followed my videos, I've been trading Fiverr for quite a while, especially in my what I call my $10,000 wheel trade or account. And I've been wheeling it from day one. I think I've had that going for about 6 months, and I end up making around 150, anywhere from 150 to 200 on a monthly basis. So they're currently at 33.78, so they're a little less expensive than Cart. They did probably missed earnings back in February, but that's that time period back when the market was going through a tough time. And then they dropped again in early April, which isn't surprising, but they've had a nice recovery. For the longest time, they stayed at like 30, 31. They looks like after hours, they're down a little bit. Earnings per share looks pretty good. They only have a 12.8, what is that, 88 PE, so not a huge PE. Let's look at earnings. They had okay earnings. They missed a little bit by gap, but they also they beat revenues or had a revenue surprise. Let's look at what their earnings estimates look like. 263, and then it's going to be 268, so not a huge increase, and then 271. Let's look at profitability. A minus, good, fairly good profitability. Their margins look really good. The big deal is their margins. Their return on equity and capital could be better, but overall not bad. A minus. I really like seeing margins like that. 81% growth. It says D plus, but I think it's a little bit better. They're getting hammered because of working capital growth. But being a software company and a service company, they're doing okay growth wise. I don't think it's really a D. I think it's more like a B, C. Valuation, I like to come over and look at capital structure. So they have a fairly low market cap, 1.2 billion. They do have 403 million. So they do have a little bit more debt than I typically like. Let's also see if they're buying back shares. Let's look at financials, balance sheet. Come down to the bottom. And here, 36, 35.9, 38.7, 30. So it looks like they're kind of a little bit all over the place. They increased, then they decreased. So they're staying with not a whole lot of outstanding shares, around 36 million, which isn't bad, but they're not really. It seems like they're using their shares. They may be selling some primarily for the executives, but not. It doesn't look like they have a full blown buyback program yet. But part of the reason why I like them for running the wheel I've been running them, I think around 28 or 30, running the wheel on a monthly basis and doing pretty well. So let's actually look at Barchart. Let's change this to Fiverr. And let's come up to the interactive chart. And they're a little bit on the high end too. So let's look at RSI. So RSI, same thing. So both of these are a little bit pricey. But again, for wheeling, it seems like it's working out pretty well. They do, if we look at options prices, again, I like to go out. They only have monthly, so I'll go out to 718. Fairly good open interest for the calls, for the puts. Again, fairly good open interest. Not a huge amount of volume, but not bad. I mean, a few. It's a little lower than I typically like. It's compared to the big boys, it looks fairly small, but I've been able to roll them and trade them fairly easy on a monthly basis. So Fundamentals and technicals, could they be better for both these companies? Yes. But that's part of the reason why I think they're fairly good candidates for rolling. But again, the service themselves, I believe they're going to continue to grow and do well. They may also be takeover targets for some of the bigger companies out there. So next, let's jump in and look at what the trade that I did on both of these, the most recent trade. So stay tuned. Let's jump into that next section. Okay, now this is my latest trade with Cart, and I've actually only done one trade with Cart. I did it back on May 29th. This is in my Patreon. This is what I share with my membership. I share it both on Patreon and on Discord. So that way, I usually will give a little bit of detail. I'll talk about the company, why I like them, why I might believe they've gone through a little bit of a tougher time recently. The CEO of Instacart left and moved over to OpenAI. They did promote someone new that I think is going to still do a good job. So that's a little bit why they got beat down at one point. Um, so I did this trade. It is a vertical put credit spread, but you could have also done it as a cash secured put. So I sold the 41 and then I purchased the 35. So it's got like a $6 spread. And the reason I picked the 35 is it worked out better than going all the way out to 31 or 30. Also, in some instances, it'll jump from 30 to 35 or 20 to 25. I believe in this instance, there was no 34, 33, 32. The next lower one was 30. So I chose 35, which ended up meaning I'd used less capital because I had a smaller spread. I had what is that? That's a $6 spread. So I'm using $600 in capital to make 132 in a little bit, about a month and a half. So I think it was like 45 days DTE. And it's Maple Bears, the name of the company, which is interesting. Again, the CEO left, I believe, a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. Growth looks good. Some of the same stuff that I showed the for the fundamentals and the technicals when I looked at both Barchart and Seeking Alpha. Um, so I give a little bit more detail. I also will mention you can do this as a cash secured put. I usually share my trade, um, so people can look and they can see the actual, in this case, this is Fidelity. If it's Schwab does a little bit of a better job in their history page. They'll actually summarize it. If you put in the ticker symbol and it can identify it's only one position, or if it's multiple positions with the same ticker symbol, it'll share each leg and then it'll give a summary amount on how much you've made with that position. Fidelity, I do a little bit more cutting and pasting. You can export it and then you can look at it in the CSV file and come up with totals, especially if you end up having quite a few legs, like an iron condor or something like that. Um, and I just looked recently; it's still a very viable trade. They have gone up a bit, but these companies move around a lot, so there's always opportunity later on. Next, let's jump into this again is Patreon. This is for my last Fiverr trade. I'm getting ready to do a Fiverr trade here soon. Um, I typically have done 28. I may have to go up higher. They're like 33 we were just looking at. I noticed the premium to make around 150 on a monthly basis, I'd have to go a little bit higher. This is a true cash secured put. So I just sold the cash secured put at 28 and I do it month to month. Again, I give some details. This one is in Schwab. So this is what I was mentioning before. You can see the two legs. You can view the detail. Then it'll show a summary amount. It just makes it a little bit easier. That's part of the reason why I like Schwab a little bit better than Fidelity with the ability, the functionality, the features are a little bit better, but the interest, the ability to earn interest while you're selling cash secured puts within Fidelity is really, really nice. It ends up being quite a bit of cash being generated. I can also show you what this looks like in the wheel. So I started wheeling this back in January of this year. So I wheeled it in January and February. January I brought in just shy of 180. In February 175. March 121. So it did go down a little bit, mainly because the stock price was beginning. Oh no, it was still going down at that point. Sometimes, it's averages. So I've been averaging 150. I've had some months that were better and some months that were worse. Here's 153, pretty close to the average. Another 151 back in May. And I haven't done a trade with them yet this month. And last time I looked, I tried to make a trade a couple of times. I will pick really close to the ask or even higher than the ask because I want to earn a certain amount of money, mainly because I'm only doing one trade every month. And with a $10,000 account, that works out nicely. I mean, let's take any of these. So we'll take these two trades, 361.32. Now to make 361.32 in 1 month in a $10,000 account is pretty substantial. So and that's also, being able to use the service, know about the product, and realize how good a product it really is. It makes it a little bit easier to trade. Again, these aren't companies that are going to, turn you into a millionaire, but they are definitely good companies to wheel on to make a little bit of income, extra income on a monthly basis that, in the case of Cart, you could put it towards maybe paying for your groceries. If you can, earn enough to maybe cover your groceries on a monthly basis and use a service that delivers it, you know, does the shopping for you and delivers it and, brings it to your house. And all you have to do is put it away. Plus, you don't forget things as much. At least that's what I've been finding. So let me know what you guys think. This video is a little bit different. But I really like these companies. I like the idea of letting people know about services that can make a big difference. Both of these companies have made a big difference in my life, not just trading them. In the case of Fiverr, I started using them going back many years. And if I showed you all the different orders I had with them, I probably have 30 or 40 orders. And again, with Instacart, I'm probably doing 1 to 2 orders a week. So it saves me a boatload of time. So let me know what you think. Are there other companies, services that you use that have been really beneficial time wise, and then also could potentially be good companies for selling options on and making some good income? Leave a comment. I try to answer most of my comments within 24 to 48 hours. Thank you for your time, and see you next time.